that was big enough and followed it. And they saw a rental truck. DPD recovered not only the Jefferson statue, but also one illegal firearm, and they arrested everybody there. Within 24 hours of the theft, the department, with the help of Greenlight, was able to solve the crime and get our statue back. Police charged one person with one count of larceny of $20,000 or more and one count of malicious destruction of property of $20,000 or more. The suspect was arraigned in 36th District Court, pled guilty, and will be sentenced on October 8th next week. The men and women of the DPD and the Greenlight Partners all deserve appreciation for their work, Chief Hayes told me. Working together as one community to fight crime makes a difference. The statue is now back in the field where Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson once flew model airplanes. It's back thanks to the generosity of Cynthia and Edsel Ford and the Henry Ford II Fund, who commissioned the statue and then also paid for the reinstallation. And despite the robbers having a 6-hour head start on DPD, the 6th Precinct investigative team swooped in like the Allies did 80 years ago when they got Alexander Jefferson back from a POW camp. Within 24 hours, Chief Hayes said, we had this caper closed. Caper, I love that word, and I love how quickly DPD solved the crime. Restoration now complete. A hero has returned to where he belongs. And my message, the lesson for any criminals who want to mess with DPD, don't be a menace in Detroit or you'll get caught in your hood. And now I am very proud to bring up one of our strongest supporters in city government, my friend Deputy Mayor Malia Howard.
Don't catch that on camera with my shoe coming off. You better edit that out. Great afternoon, everyone. I continue to say good morning, but great afternoon. It is a pleasure and an honor and truly a privilege to be here today. And so I'm going to stick to my script, and then I'm going to go off script. So let's get to the script first. So we are so proud to stand here today once again to honor our heroes. Detroit native and Tuskegee Airman Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson. The ways that Detroit helped to win World War II are legendary, from airplanes to tanks to obviously troops. Where am I at? Detroit is the arsenal of democracy. Chrysler pioneered the mass production of trucks and tanks by applying automotive principles to the Detroit Arsenal Tank Plant, or TACOM, if many of you don't know. I grew up around TACOM. We're going to talk about that in a second. Constructing swarms of tanks from the early Grant Lee M3s to the M4 Sherman tanks, and Ford Motor Company's production of aircraft and aircraft components at the Willow Run plant, which built and focused heavily on the B-24 Liberator bombers. These are the hardware, the equipment that made us the Arsenal of Detroit. I'm sorry, the Arsenal of Democracy, but let's not forget the Davison Freeway, first freeway in the country. We wouldn't have had it if we didn't need to move parts and people and troops between Milwaukee Junction to get onto the train lines, the freight lines, to get the stuff to where it needed to be. So always keep that in memory of why we have like that little short jaunty of a freeway. It served a serious purpose in us winning World War II. But today we honor a different contribution to the United States' success in World War II. We celebrate a band of brothers called the Tuskegee Airmen. And one of the most famous is from our own Detroit, being Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson. He was a member of a flying unit called the Red Tails for the colors on their actual tails. The men escorted bombers across and into Europe into action and lost so few planes that bomber squadrons requested them to fly on runs. This Chadsey High School graduate, who earned numerous degrees and eventually dozens of medals, returned to Detroit to become a beloved educator. But this statue honors his service in a P-51 fighter who flew 18 successful long-range escort missions, earning honor for his family, for his city, for his country, and a victory for America. And so with that being said, I know so many of you are out here are former military, but for those of you who aren't, please take a moment and go out to Warren and go see TACOM. You can probably just circle around it. They're not going to let you out there. But you'll really understand. They're doing some like innovative technology out there now. They're definitely not gonna let you on. But as a child, my grandmother worked there for 40 years. Like right after she graduated from Roseville High School, my grandmother went to go work at TACOM in the steno pool. Right, she was a secretary, and so I grew up around not just TACOM, but my entire father's family is all Navy seamen. And so this strain of military and veterans runs deep in our household. So just take a moment. I'm sorry, I'm always crying. Take a moment to remember all the men and women who have sacrificed themselves for our country and for our liberty and for our honor. And also doubly remember those of us who are in the community of color who literally had to fight in order to serve our country. We had to fight in order to serve our own country, to be allowed to be in that space. So just always take a moment and remember. And remember, not all of us who were in service in World War II served as an honorable Tuskegee airman. Some of us served as cooks, as footmen on ships. And it wasn't always glorious and grandiose work, but we did the work nonetheless, which gives us the honor. And so always remember that. And that brevity is a beautiful thing because it's hot outside. So who would you like me to introduce? His
granddaughter, Ernestine
Lavergne. I would like to bring up Lieutenant Colonel Jefferson's granddaughter, Miss Lavergne. Please join us here at the lectern. That's my news voice, just so y'all know. And I have to say, you all, many of you do realize, but you might not necessarily do. Granddaughter of a World War II vet, cousin to many Korean vets, cousin to, and niece to Vietnam vets, and proud of my youngest cousin who served, who literally was in the Navy, became an MP, and was at the Pentagon on 9/11. And so I am proud to say the service runs in my veins, in my family. And if you are such as us, please never, ever forget that. Never, ever forget what we had to do in order to serve our country with dignity and honor. Okay, I'm done. All right. I'm done.
Okay, since it is hot out here, I'm going to keep it short, sweet, and simple. Some of you know we did a post office dedication to my grandfather. And the part you have to remember about Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson, his biggest thing is service. He was service to his family, service to his country, service to the little children that used to run around as little kids, as he had favorite terms for them, till most of them are older than me or somewhere in my age range. The thing to take away is always with him is service. There's folks out here who know of Tuskegee Airmen as a whole. There are quite a few individuals that came out of the state of Michigan who ended up in that experience time. As the chairperson of the research committee of the national organization, not all of the guys' names are up and listed. We are still locating. People say, well, why don't you know how many started? Well, we don't know. Y'all got to remember, the term Tuskegee Airmen did not come about until like 1973 when the organization was formed. Their first reunion was held in Chicago in 19-something. You can ask me later because I got a picture to prove it. As my grandfather said, pictures are always proof. The national organization did not become incorporated until 1975. There were 4 chapters that met on the East Coast. And from those 4 chapters, they made the determination, we are going to call ourselves Tuskegee Airmen, Inc., and form the organization. That's how the organization founded. These ladies and these gentlemen on this side, they are all continuing the legacy. And even Mr. Folsom on this side. Mr. Folsom's awesome, so if you get a chance to catch him before he leaves, talk to him about his story. But These are the individuals you will see people running around in blue shirts, red coats. They look like they might be 70, 80 years old. Some might look like 100 and something. Unless you know what their date of birth is, that is not saying that they are a documented original Tuskegee Airman. So if you want to know who is a documented original Tuskegee Airman, my suggestion to you is to reach out to the national organization and say, hey, I met this gentleman. He's wearing a red jacket. He's wearing a blue jacket. He's wearing a dark blue jacket. Is he actually a documented original Tuskegee Airman? We do have people who impersonate people for military service. There are individuals who are trying to keep that part under control because some of those individuals are not the ones that are above board, and they're trying to catch in on the Tuskegee Airman name, which is not what it was meant to be. You have local chapters, such as the Detroit chapter, that's continuing the legacy. So why don't you come out and help support them? Why don't you come out when we have events? Why don't you come out? Well, if you want to come up out of your pocket, they're more than happy to take your money. But show support for the people who are in your own community. And that's all I have to say. Oh, thank you for Rochelle for always putting everything together when it comes to anything revolving my grandfather. You also have other organizations that continue the legacy with Tuskegee Airmen, such as the local museum, West Bloomfield chapter. I will always promote Detroit chapter because it was my grandfather's heart. You have women in aviation. You have a motorcycle club that's called Tuskegee Airmen. So if you want to know who's who in the zoo, look me up and I'll tell you who is who. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Tony Stevenson, the president of the Detroit chapter of Tuskegee Airmen, Inc.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. First off, I'd like to say thank you to the city of Detroit. Thank you to the men and women of the Detroit Police Department for bringing these perpetrators to justice quickly and efficiently like they always do. But I'm hoping that while these people will have a lot of time on their hands, that I would encourage the city and the judicial system to see that they do some studying while they're there to learn their history. So once again, I want to say thank you to the city and thank you to the police department. Thank you all very much for being here.
As you all know, city government is a big machine, as I have learned in working for city government for the past 6 years. And my office, which is the Office of Arts, Culture, and Entrepreneurship, is a part of the General Services Department. And even though it's called General Services, it should be called Community Services because they do all the stuff that makes the community great. Parks, recreation centers, all kinds of things. Crystal Perkins is the head of that department, and she had an event with her son, so she has sent Tim Carl, chief of the Landscape Architecture Division, to say a word. Please give him a big hand.
This is an honor to be here. Just the history behind the Tuskegee Airmen, and I appreciate the history that you told me because I always thought that they were from the get-go. That's what they were, the names of them. But from the Red Tails, you know, who wouldn't want these individuals protecting them? So I just, again, the Melina, it's just touching when you're up here talking about the service that people put into their lives. My dad was a World War II vet, you know, Marine, totally different theater. But you talk about the greatest generation, and you look at what we're going through today, and you look what they did. It's just amazing. So I just appreciate what everybody has done in the service that the service members do to our country and the freedom that they've given us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize two groups that I love partnering with. First, I'd like the members of the Friends of Rouge Park who are here to please stand and make sure people can see you. And where's Sally Petrella? There's Sally. I want you to know that they are the stewards of Rouge Park. So all this great stuff that happens throughout the year when they're doing that, if you see that the Friends of Rouge Park are doing something, please, please, please support it. Support it with your presence, support it with your money. They do a great job. Thank you, Sally. I'd also like to give a shout out to, I think they stopped flying while we were talking, but when you see these gorgeous model airplanes, the Detroit Aero Modelers Club, they're out here almost every day. They've been doing this for a long time. I want to recognize Mike Cuba, who's on the end, who's been a great partner. He called me every week, where's the statue? When is it coming? And Mike is finally back. So thank you so much. At this time, that concludes our program. We would like to just take a couple of pictures with the Tuskegee Airmen at the statue, and then everybody can feel free to just commemorate this moment so that you can let people know that you were here when Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson came back home. Thank you. Ernestine, if you and Tony and the Deputy Mayor can come up with the Tuskegee Airmen.